Hi, I'm Lori Durfler, and I'm the 2018 Arizona Realtor President, and I have the distinct honor to have a conversation with the Arizona Real Estate Commissioner, Judy Lowe. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for taking the time and meeting with us.
And Lori, thank you so much for organizing this and putting it together.
What's making the phone ring here at the Department of Real Estate?
The phone rings constantly. And many times it's licensees who have questions. Most of all, what's their password? How do I get into adre.gov? However, we do take constituent calls from our Arizona consumers, many of them involved in a real estate transaction. And they are asking questions about the real estate transaction. They're also questioning maybe some of the activities. One of the primary things that we've had the phone ringing about recently was cold calling. And it makes a seller pretty angry when they get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock a.m., wanting to relist their property because it expired at midnight. So those are the types of things that we really have to think about, walking in the shoes of the consumer. Right now we're hearing about, of course, all of the investors who are stepping into real estate, which for Arizona is a wonderful event. But those investors many times are forgetting about the consumer on the other side of the transaction. And our real estate licensees who are actually acting as either a buyer of a property or a seller of a property are sometimes forgetting about the disclosures that have to be made as a real estate licensee.
Right, absolutely. In fact, that was one of the questions we wanted to talk about because, you know, as licensees, we have that opportunity to be investors. But isn't there something in terms of being an investor and representing your own self? How does that fit in terms of representing the buyer as well?
Well, an agent who is acting as the buyer or seller really should not be representing the consumer on the other side of the transaction. That consumer on the other side of the transaction really needs representation of their own, independent of the real estate licensee who is acting as the buyer or the seller. Otherwise, it's dual agency, and how can that real estate licensee who owns the property, how can they really represent the buyer on the other side when they're representing themselves to get the best opportunity for their own portfolio?
Correct. Understood. Just wanted to bring that up because that is something that we hear about quite often.
Every property that you own, if you're going to market it, it must say agent owner. In the ad, on the sign, whether it's outside of the brokerage, of course with your designated broker's blessing, but no matter how you're marketing that property or talking about that property in writing or verbally, right, you must disclose that it is an owner agent.
What are the positive things that you're hearing in terms of the calls that you're receiving?
You know, when I took over 9 years ago the Department of Real Estate, I had come from the industry. And I remember looking around the office when the bulletin came out from ADRE, and everybody immediately went to all of the violations at the back, anxious to read about the violations of their co-licensees. And we thought about it and decided there needs to be something positive there too. And we created the Audit Broker Honor Roll. And that has grown from a half a page to, I just counted in our last bulletin, there were 6 pages of those on the Broker Honor Roll. What a success.
Yes, it is.
What a success to see how dramatically it's all changed. The number of pages for violations has actually diminished. So we're seeing fewer violations and more audits coming forward on the broker honor roll.
Wow, that's great. Really good to hear. Thank you.